Hey, welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy you're here today. I have one of my very favorite stories. This is where I share moments of sanctuary where the sacred has encountered the ordinary. And today was a most awesome sacred moment. It was in South Dakota on our first trip in 2009, and I shared in the first video about this discovery of what a deep and lasting prejudice there still is today between the whites and the Native Americans, and probably other races too. However, my personal experience and encounter on this particular trip was exclusively between whites and the Native Americans, and this contrast. And all throughout the week, we did these beautiful assignments of construction and work on the houses and homes in the Native American reservation. There were encounters with tenants who lived there who were both the Native American and the white, and just the relationship building and the lessons that we learned and the things that we witnessed was just a really enriching time for the youth to and us to question and ponder what kind of prejudices did we carry that we maybe didn't even realize that we did, and how can we overcome those. So on our free day, this all came to a beautiful, poignant moment. We left at the crack of dawn. It was pouring down rain. We loaded up into several vans. We headed out. We traveled across the state. Our first stop was Wounded Knee Museum, and we learned there in a beautiful museum about basically the white settlers doing a horrific act against the Native Americans and slaughtering over 300 women, children, predominantly on Wounded Knee. We then went to Mount Rushmore, because what's a trip to South Dakota without Mount Rushmore? We saw the great stone carvings. We saw all the beautiful museum spread there, everything behind glass, behind the little railings. If you were going to touch anything, you better not think about taking even a stone or blade of grass, because this was historical property. There were guides everywhere. There was a real sense of American pride, and we spent a significant amount of time here, and we really enjoyed it. We went next to Crazy Horse Monument, which is an in-progress mountain carving for the Native American people of the warrior Crazy Horse. And he's on his horse pointing out towards his lands. And everything there happens through donations. And the museum there was also very beautiful, very well done, very moving, but it was very laid back in spirit, and it was kind of a work in progress. So they were literally bringing the stones of the mountain and saying, take as many stones as you want, support us, hear our stories. They brought in dances, they brought in storytellers. They were all about supporting their culture and the beauty of it. And I was only saddened that I hadn't allotted more time at that museum, because there was so much richness and awesome things going on. But we needed to move along because we had other appointments. We stopped at Wind Cave, and it's a national monument, so it is run by the U.S. government. But we knew, since we had done some homework and research, that the Lakota Indian believed that this was Genesis, that these caves were where creation itself was birthed. And we had been doing a lot of studying and applying that parallel along our own beliefs of creation. We were really excited to see this sacred space. And so we went there, and we went on the official tour, and we stood there for 30 minutes. I looked at my clock, 30 minutes of hearing about how the white settler pioneers found the opening of the cave and excavated it and claimed it, and the history behind this cave. Then they asked for questions. So I raised my hand and say, hey, we're here staying at the Indian reservation. We have heard this is their sacred space of Genesis and creation. Oh yes, she says, that's a really great story. It's too bad we do not have time to tell that. We just spent 30 minutes talking about some boys who stumbled into a hole. 30 minutes. We can't talk for 5 minutes about this beautiful narrative of the creation itself. This is just this wheels turning, putting it together. And we were all like, okay. I mean, I didn't have to say much. The whole group got what was going on here. We left, we had this renewed sense of appreciation for who we were, where we were, the people that we were working with, and we were so thankful that we had been brought to this place. And I was in the passenger seat of one of the vans. The driver of the van, Dan, says, gosh, this has just been such a special day, so meaningful. The only thing that's sad about it at all is that I haven't seen any buffalo. And South Dakota is also known for its buffalo, but you know what, that's the only thing I can think of that could possibly make this day any better. And the very second we said that, the very second we drove over the hill, and there were 2 buffalo next to the road. One of them walked into the road. I am not kidding. We were stopping. Everybody was taking their pictures, so excited. But I got back in the van, we looked at each other, and it was just this awesome moment of answered prayer, of grace undeserved. And we were just like, wow, can you believe that? That was amazing. And Dan said, I don't think this day can get any better. This is the most perfect mission day I have ever been part of. And we round the bend, and I told you it had been a rainy, overcast day, but the sun had come out, and there were 2 beautiful, full, double rainbows in all the beautiful, glorious colors stretched across the sky. We couldn't even say anything. We were just in awe. And those awe kind of moments just lead me to believe that you could say there are great coincidences in life, that life is just the way it is, that it just falls into place, that it's just random, that it's just fate, that's whatever. But I have those moments where I cannot deny that there is divine plan and intervention that cares and knows us individually, that has designed every single one of us, no matter what our race or religion or beliefs or lack of beliefs, has designed us to be fearfully and wonderfully made. And not only designed us individually, but designed us together in community. For you see, the next stop was supposed to be the actual site of Wounded Knee Massacre. That was on the Pine Ridge Reservation. But it was dark and it was late and it was taking us time to travel with such a big group. And we knew that even if we were there, it would be too dark to see it. But we drove across Pine Ridge Reservation trying to go back to our reservation of Rosebud. And we stopped at a gas station, and it was one of those where they have the overhang lit so you can see the pumps. And the inside convenience area was pretty small, but we all went in to use the facilities and get a snack. And we actually got to talk to the owner, and he was like, what's going on? Because I guess it's not usual for 30-some, white people to crash your place, which really was about 11 o'clock, midnight at this point. And so we explained who we were, what we were doing. And I asked him, I said, we don't have the time to gather together to have a closing prayer and talk about our evening before we get back. When we get back, it's going to be super late. We just need to go to bed. We don't have a meeting space. Would you mind if we just met out in your parking lot pump area where it's lit, and we can just hang out there for a few minutes, and if somebody comes to get gas, we'll move? And he says, well, that would be fine. Do you think it would be okay if myself or a few of us joined you? Well, yes, that would be awesome. And there we were, gathered around the gas pumps under the lights in South Dakota. And there were whites and Native Americans holding hands in a circle. And we closed out with a prayer of thanksgiving for all we had received that day, for the awesome gifts that we had been given that we did not deserve but received joyfully. And I remember looking around that circle and thinking, this is a beautiful picture of heaven and reconciliation and God's heart. Just that there can be that healing, there can be that joining together, and that knowing that each and every one is fearfully and wonderfully made. And I hope that despite all the craziness of the world, that there is something that cracks through and lets each of you even recognize these moments of divine sanctuary. Y'all have blessings on your day.